There's everyone joining us. Welcome everyone. We've just allowed anyone in the waiting room to join us. And we're just going to allow those people to come in. There's a couple more coming in, and once they're in, we'll get started. Hi Frederica, thanks for your patience. We saw you arrived early, and lovely to see you. I see you waving there at Alison. Just to let you all know, this is a recorded event, and also it's a live interactive event. So if you can keep your cameras on, that would be great. Hi Michelle, I see you waving.
Yeah.
And if you'd like to be involved in the conversation, we'd love to have you involved by just unmuting you. So we have the ability to unmute you, and you can have a conversation as part of this. We don't have all the answers, but we'd certainly like to get the conversation going, as we have for the last 6 weeks as part of our HR at the Heart series. We've certainly enjoyed hosting these events, and this is the second last event that we're going to host in the HR at the Heart series. Today we're very, very happy and honoured to be joined by Alison Hodgson, who's the VP of People at Virgin Media, and I'm told this is going to be a very lively discussion with our CEO of Tandem, Aisling Tayard. So I'm not going to keep everybody for too long, but before we get started, because this is interactive, I wanted to get everybody started off by just let us know in the chat what country you're dialing in from at the moment. And oh, my headphone's coming out. It's very sunny here in Dublin today, so just let us know what the weather is where you are at the moment, and let us know what country you're dialing in from. So the chat is there, also the feedback button. Just if you want to give us a round of applause, you can hit the reaction button there, or a thumbs up at any point in the conversation. And again, just put your questions in the chat as we go through the conversation today. And we'll either ask the question for you, or else we'll unmute you and let you ask your own questions. So thanks a million everyone for coming. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce Alison and Aisling, who will be initiating our conversation today about the new reality of employee experience.
Hi everybody, and welcome to the community. Great to have you all here. I'm not going to take up any more of this lady's time, because I think, like all of you, I'm really excited to hear about all of the things going on at Virgin Media and how a trooper like Alison is tackling the whole employee experience right now and her plans for the future. So really excited to hear more, and over to you, Alison.
Well, thanks, Aisling, and thanks, Andrew. Lovely to see everybody. I suppose what I'll start with is who are Virgin Media here in Ireland, because Aisling tells me that there's always a little bit of intrigue out there as to who we are and what we do. So let me give you the spiel. We are the leading connected entertainment cable and broadcast business in Ireland. So what does that mean in reality? That's broadband, that's TV set-top box, that's mobile, that's home phone, and of course Virgin Media TV is our broadcast division, where we've got free-to-air channels, and we invest in home-produced content such as news and current affairs and drama and sports. We are a wholly owned subsidiary by an American company called Liberty Global. They are headquartered out of Denver, and then they're one of the world's leading converged video, broadband and communications companies. So our vision, as it happened, turned out to be quite appropriate for our current times that we're going through, is to keep Ireland connected and informed. And our purpose is to build connections that really matter. So we are in and around 1,500 headcount, and that includes all of our partners that we work with. So that's kind of who Virgin Media is. I suppose the new reality that we find ourselves in, I've kind of looked at this from 4 different perspectives. The first really is around the fact that necessity is the mother of innovation. So we were all confronted with a new reality that we had to get on with. One of the big things for us is that we were so pleased, relieved, to see how ready and willing people were to change overnight, quite literally. But one of the upsides of being an opco in a global organization is that we'd had a little bit of heads up, and we'd had some time to prepare, because obviously Liberty Global has businesses all over the world, and there was actually a global steerco on COVID-19 since January. So we'd had time and space to get ourselves ready. We were able to test everybody working from home. We were able to look at all of our technology platforms. So that piece we did have a head start on. But I suppose the overall sentiment really in our people has been one of gratitude we have a large contact centre down in Limerick, and that is an area of Ireland that was very badly hit from the get-go in this current crisis. So between Limerick, Shannon and Ennis, 60,000 jobs disappeared overnight. We were able to keep on 330 people in our contact centre there working from home. So we virtualised them within a week. And we actually, due to the unprecedented demand, went out and recruited a further 95 people. So it's been quite a roller coaster for us. We recruited the guys virtually. We onboarded them and inducted and trained them online. We brought them into our building once, and that was to verify their identification and to give them their kit, all socially distanced with all of the protocols, as you might imagine. And we did ergonomic assessments, and we ensured that our technology platforms were accessible and were of the quality and what have you. We had a few glitches like everybody did. So our Zoom platform is WebEx. We had a few glitches. It was a bit jumpy in the first week, but people pretty much got on with it. We took an approach of best endeavours because we really did differentiate and continue to differentiate the difference between working from home versus working at home. A lot of people are actually working at home because they have childcare requirements, caregiving obligations. Some of our people share flats. Some of our people are working on ironing boards. That's just what this current time has required everybody to do. So we are very clear that it is a best endeavours approach, really. But the acceleration of change has just been, quite uncharted for us, really, between the unprecedented demand for our products and our services, as well as then actually going out and recruiting 95 more people. So really then, in terms of my second perspective, what support have we provided? We have done a lot. So we have over-communicated constantly through various channels. We have surveyed our people to see how they're feeling, what more they need from us, what's their favourite channel of communication. It turns out email, good old-fashioned email, is what people prefer these days in our world anyway. We also did ergonomics assessments, as I think I mentioned to you earlier, although of course we did do an item on our news programme on VMTV, and we went to one of our call agents' homes to see him working from his kitchen table, and he wasn't quite ergonomically exactly set up as he should have been. So I had about 12 approaches on LinkedIn trying to sell me some ergonomic products and assessments and services, which you gotta love all the triers out there if everybody's having a go. The other thing that is of great benefit to be of a large global organisation is the board have forfeited their salary and contributed in a couple of $1 million into a hardship fund, that if you are a permanent employee on our books, on a Liberty Global Company book, you can apply for a hardship fund. And there are two types of funds. It's been hosted by an external charity body in the US, and actually it has been availed of. So it just goes to show you actually that this crisis is quite difficult for people out there. We've also run training on how do you lead and engage remote teams, motivation and engagement seminars and webinars, resiliency, and a lot in the mental health space. So we our fair share of external guest speakers. We partner with Leia, our healthcare service provider, who have provided services and products and support to us that really have been second to none. So that's kind of the second perspective that I was thinking about. The third perspective then is, so what's next? So for us, we want to bottle the good. There has been some good experiences and some great learnings from this whole experience. We have been talking about for a number of years virtualizing the business, virtualizing a contact center, which is kind of tricky because you've got lots of different contacts that our care agents provide to customers. It could be voice, it could be messaging, it could be bot, it could be through conversation. So it was quite a complex exercise to look at. but for us, really, what's going to happen next is we want to regularize the flexibility that people have now discovered in the last 10 weeks. We are looking at reintroducing smart working in a way that's more contemporary, more modern. So we've drawn up new guidelines, although of course being a Virgin company, we're pretty light on that sort of stuff. So light guidelines, light governance, but we do have a charter that we ask people to sign up to, and that's really around etiquette, and etiquette in two sort of ways. One, meetings. So back-to-back meetings where diaries were filling up galore all day, every day. And screen time was becoming really challenging. And also, and I'm one of those people, when I'm in person, I'll always lean in. But of course, when you're doing that on a screen, that's actually confronting. So there, we've got lots of, make your point and then sort of sit back and let other people to make their point, and stuff like that. That has proved to be quite interesting, as well as, of course, like everybody, the return to office logistics and the phasing of everything, and that is a tricky piece of work that we are taking very seriously, and we have been working long and hard at, really, from the get-go. What's great about being part of a global organisation in situations like this is that you do decide locally. So we're clearly following the local government's advice here in Ireland, which is different from the government's advice in the UK, as we all know, and other countries in Europe. But also it means that our phasing is different, timing is different, distancing is different in different countries. So there, whilst we can benefit from the resources and the materials that our parent company produce, we also need to localize for our own province here as well. And so the last thing for me then that I've been thinking about is strategic. What's, horizon scanning, where do we go to now? The world has absolutely pivoted. So what do we do? What do we do next? In terms of real estate portfolio, we're not actively looking at that, although we had just announced a move from our head office here in Dublin, and actually our new head office has a capacity of 75%. So we were already going to be moving towards that flexible smart working anyway. But I do read a lot in the press that a lot of companies are looking at their real estate portfolio and what they're going to do there. And then the other thing that we're going to be doing is a critical skills assessment. So we had a strategic review, myself and the rest of the board, a couple of weeks ago, looking at, okay, now the world has completely pivoted. What's our big five priorities now? What are the big five? And we're looking at what we need to deliver the big five, and to be able to move the company forward in terms of at the same pace and the same rate, because we've all moved dramatically faster than we have done historically. And in terms of the final sort of overarching thing that has really come through and resonated for me is silo busting. So we have completely busted all or any of those either physical, real, literal or metaphorical silos that we had in our organisation. So the age-old commercial work with customers so much better now, tech work with everybody so much better now, and it's just that's what this crisis has done for us. It has shown us that we can actually collaborate, be agile, move at pace, and optimise. So that was really it, Aisling, for me, in terms of who Virgin Media is here in Ireland, and the four perspectives that I've been thinking about, really.
That's fantastic. Thanks so much for sharing so openly about what you're up to there. I was really taken with something you said there, because it really resonates with the clients we have as well, and indeed other prospective clients that I'm talking to. It's almost like we've hit on these culture nuggets that we've been trying to pull off for years, like collaboration, agility, that flexibility, that way of working, that almost you want to bottle it and take it forward. And that's such a common theme, I think, with pretty much everybody I'm talking to right now. And I was curious about, if we bottle those things and take them forward and really commit to agility, collaboration in the future, we've got to let some things go too, of the past. And have you thought from a HR perspective, is there things within your employee experience armory that you would have relied on the past that you think, no, that's no longer relevant, or we don't need to focus on that so much anymore, we're really going to focus on these things? Or are we just layering on more things to the HR agenda?
No, I think that's exactly what I was just going to say. I think there are only so many hours in the day, and so what has really happened is that prioritization and laser focus have totally taken on a whole new perspective here, so that you get to what matters most first. So I think by process of evolution, and you got to be fit. That's kind of what's happened here. So the priorities and the activities and the projects and the stuff that people were doing, it was survival of the fittest in terms of those priorities. So only those that really mattered and really made a difference actually cut through. So when I look at our, keeping our customers connected was the number one priority. Servicing their demands and their needs, and making sure that in a time where, could you imagine if we'd had COVID-19 prior to 1996 when the internet was created? I can't even imagine what it would be like not to have Wi-Fi in every part of my house and a TV in every room, and all of these connections to the outside world, and that really. So what was interesting was what mattered most cut through, and people focused on actually servicing our customer. And that involved being we were already a customer-centric organisation and an engineering innovative organisation, but actually those two are on a platform now more so than ever.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great to hear it. The other thing that I'm hearing lots of around the employee experience is, we have discovered this capability within us as organizations to act in wholly new ways that are much more effective than the way we used to act. But all of that rallying and that resilience that's been there over time is tough to sustain, and managers need support in sustaining that. And I was really interested to hear you've already done an awful lot of work with managers and helping them discover. Is that going to be a continued theme? Give them those supporting toolkits to help them sustain this in this.
If I were to be controversial, I would say that we've done too much in that space, that there were too many interventions and we've overloaded it a little bit, and maybe overwhelmed our people a little bit. We are communicating more than we ever communicated before. So every team has a pull-up at 9:30 every morning. We have people leader calls now twice a week. We have leadership calls, so a lot has happened. And I suppose the other thing that it gave us the opportunity was just to press the reset button on our learning and development strategy. Now, I was fortunate in that I had just found a new learning and development partner who had just come on board before lockdown arrived, and she was looking at what we'd done historically and coming forward with what she was proposing to do going forward. And so this current crisis actually gave us the real opportunity just to press pause, stop doing the stuff that we were just doing because we always did, and that people were used to having, and actually now again we've just had to prioritize and apply a laser focus to providing support that is really needed, like how do you lead a remote team? How do you engage and remotely? Of course, we're in that time of year. It's coming up to mid-year performance reviews, and those conversations, those check-in development conversations, and how do you ensure that people know what they're supposed to be working on and have the access to work on what they need to work on, and that they are being productive. Now, we're a very metricked industry, so you kind of know how many customers are in the queue, you know how long it is before a call is answered, you know how many messages are waiting to be replied to. So there's pieces like that make it a little bit more obvious for us. But I think going forward we will continue to support certainly the interventions that we're providing with Leia. because we've been their partner now for a year and a half. And we will certainly be continuing to look at leadership and what it is to be a high performing organisation, and the resilience that underpins that.
Yeah, great, super stuff. Andrew, I'm conscious that I want to let other people into the conversation here to share their thoughts, questions, comments. So Mike,
absolutely,
over to you to get us all going.
Yeah, I'd love to have some comments come in from the people here. We've got a good crowd today. I saw a comment from Sharon who says she's working from home rather than at home, and she would like to introduce a home working policy. And also the question Seth asked in chat was, what would you like to bottle? If you were to bottle anything, what would it be? And Sharon was saying it was bottle communications. They've never communicated more as a company and individual teams. So Sharon, I don't know if you feel comfortable with it, but would you be willing to come on and allow me to unmute you so you could kind of maybe talk to us a little bit about that?
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Sharon. How are you?
I'm good, thank you very much. That's what I get for popping a comment in.
We kind of put people off putting the comments in, I suppose.
No, it's fine. No, listen, just to say, I've really enjoyed the chats over the last couple of weeks. I have been actively here. I haven't actively engaged, but I have been here and I've been listening in, and I've really appreciated them. So thank you to Tandem and all who have over the last couple of weeks. It's been really enjoyable and a nice kind of a break from the norm, and to get some feedback as well. So that's been really positive for me. So thank you very much. Yes, we are all. My company is CO2, we're a software company, and we're all working from home at the moment. We are thinking about. We're obviously adhering to the return to work protocol, and we're aligning with that. And we definitely want. When I say we did want to get everybody back into the office at some point, but I think that's changing, and I think those thought processes are a little bit more fluid now than they were before with our management team. So we're working on that, and we're working on introducing a home working policy, which we have never had before. And we had a couple of pockets of home workers around the place, but we didn't have a policy, and we didn't really want one. So there's been a lot of change recently for us as a company to try to keep up with the demand that we feel as though we're going to get from our employees, or that the government legislation is advising. So we're in that space of trying to introduce some of those things at the moment, and it's not without its struggles, if I'm being honest. So. But on the bottling, so that's on the home working side. So on the bottling, what we would like to continue is we have 160 people worldwide. We have offices in Dubai and Jordan and South Africa, so we're fairly well geographically spread. But we have never communicated as much as we have recently, and that's predominantly just the Dublin office. The Dublin office, I think. The lady earlier on, Alison, my apologies, Alison, I was getting mixed up with Alison and Ashley. Alison referred to it earlier on that we had a group of tech guys based in Dublin. They didn't speak to each other. They came, they did their work, and they went home. So the communication dynamic has changed, and I also agreed with the silo busting. That has become huge for us, and I've taken a couple of notes that I have a one-to-one with my CEO in a half an hour that I'll be reiterating from a conversation this morning, Alison. So I can see where we have benefited. So what would I bottle? I'd bottle the communications, I'd bottle silo busting, and I've tried to introduce home working. But it is going to be a struggle. I have our CEO is hugely on board with it, so we're going through that process of trying to get him.
Yeah, and it was fairly similar for us. I think for me, the real winner in all of this has been trust. So everybody had no option other than to trust that people were going to turn up every day, metaphorically, log on, do what needed to be done, do their job. So trust is the biggest winner. So I suppose for us, we're looking at building on that trust and making sure that that we do it in a way that is conducive to including everybody.
Yeah.
So, you know, if some people in the team happen to be in the office on the same day and you're all in a room, then everybody needs to dial in as if you were all in different locations.
Yes.
So it's those sort of etiquette that we're looking at the moment, and we're trying to get buy-in from everybody. So we're asking people what do they want. So we're surveying people at the moment and asking them what do they want from this.
That's interesting, because I have a survey there that I'm trying to get our CEO to send out. I'm not too sure how interested he is going to be in sending it out, but it is based around asking people what do they want out of this, and how do they see the business going forward. And we did a COVID-19 pandemic response survey, and that went really well for us. So I want to kind of hold on to those good pieces, and as you say, bottle the good. And I think maybe, you know, in introducing another survey to see what people want going forward will help with that.
Yeah, because
it's great to get the feedback that companies like yourselves are doing it. So
yeah, and we have to take a very practical approach, I think, more than anything else.
One question I'd love to ask, and nobody has to answer it themselves by being unmuted. Thanks a million, Sharon, for your contribution.
No problem.
Appreciate it. I just wanted to ask people to use the reaction button there and just do a clap or a thumbs up if you're changing your return to work plans. In other words, everybody was supposed to go back to the office, but now that's changed. Just give us a clap or a thumbs up if that's the case for you at the moment. So we have a few minutes left. We're always very conscious of people's time on these events. I think I always like to have a good takeaway from these events, Alison, and I think today's one might be trust is the biggest winner. We might want to kind of talk a little bit more about that. But before we continue, I just wanted to let everyone know, like I said, we have our last event next week with Tara Nolan. Tara will be talking about the pause, the reset, and the new game for team. So Tara has some great experience in working with teams and coaching teams, and we're sure to have a very interesting conversation there. The other thing I would like everyone to know is that I want to follow up with everyone. We're all going to follow up with everyone here in Tandem to ask what you want next. We've really enjoyed hosting these events. They've been very interactive, and I think we've built a really good community. So one of the follow-ups after this series is to ask you what would be best for you as a community, what we can do for you as a community. So that's something that we'll follow up after this. But before we finish up, Aisling and Alison, have you got any things to wrap up this conversation about the new reality of employee experience?
I think for me, it's about personal choice. I think the world has changed. This is how it is, and people need to personally choose how they want to be now. And I suppose that's what it is. You know, what we're finding, that people need to choose now how they want to be.
We've had a question in actually with Claire Daly, who actually wins the prize for the #1 supporter of our series. I've seen you here every week, Claire, so fair play. Claire was kind of pointing out that Christmas is usually the time when people start to fade and, you know, drop the head a bit and they need a rest. And Claire's anticipating a situation where a lot more people are going to drop the head a lot earlier. So what happens at the end of the year when everyone takes the leave at the same time? What happens then?
I mean, we're requesting that everybody use their leave on a prorated basis. So we won't be carrying leave over at the end of the year. It's too material for us on our balance sheet. So we've had to take a very commercial approach to that, but also it is exhausting working from home all of the time. There is nowhere to hide. You are always on. You almost have to ask permission to jump off a call early just to even go to the loo or grab a coffee before your next one. So we're asking people to use their holiday as the year progresses.
It almost sounds like a meme waiting to happen, the permission to go to the loo or have your lunch or whatever from the COVID days. Seems like a problem that's very, very prevalent. Aisling, I know that you and I were talking a little bit about Zoom fatigue during the week.
Yeah, I think it's a very real thing, isn't it? This way of working. But in many ways, I love the direction we're going in, because I do think organizations have cracked a culture transformation that they never planned to have. And more I'm talking to people, it's become clear that while there's downsides like Zoom fatigue and, you know, this is not working from home. This is not how normal working from home happens, right? This is being locked in your home, which is a whole different thing. But actually an awful lot of the good stuff, like the silo busting, the collaboration, the agility that organizations have been trying to show, they've been trying to pull that off for years. And now it's like COVID pressed the accelerate button and we're in it. And the big challenge for us now with the employee experience is locking it in. And I think a big part of the answer there is creating a consistency with managers and how they work and how they treat their people going forward, and being kind of, you know, almost taking agility, because people always think agility is this enormous flexibility. Agility isn't. Agility is process, being disciplined, you know, committing to those stand-up meetings, you know, and those retroactive meetings and so on. It's about discipline and process. And I actually think that's going to form a big part of the employee experience going forward, is that we are very consistent about how we manage people, regardless of where they are, whether they're at home, whether they're in the office. Actually, none of that stuff matters. What really matters is the experience that you give those people, the voice that you give them throughout, the ways of working, the way you check in with them, the way you handle them, and their well-being going forward. And for me, that's the big win for employee experience. We're finally focused on the right things. We're not trying to create the most glamorous canteen or the most beautiful office or have more snooker tables than everyone else, or, you know, all those kind of almost shallow things that formed the basis of the employee experience. They're no longer so relevant. And it's right back down to trust, relationships, the things that always mattered, that are the hardest to solve, but they've become the biggest focus. So I think the reality of the new employee experience is much more what we always wanted to work on in HR, and is much more exciting than anything we would have worked on to date. So I think there's a bright future ahead for HR projects and culture initiatives to keep us all busy. So
well,
thanks so much to Alison for sharing her vision of employee experience. And I know 15 minutes doesn't do it justice, but the depth you've brought us through in that short 15 minutes has been great. So thank you so much.
Thanks to all of our participants today. Thanks so much to Alison. We'll wrap it up there for today, but if anybody would like to get in touch with Alison, Aisling, or anybody here after the event, please just shoot us an email, and join us next week, Tuesday at 12 again, for our final event in the HR at the Heart series. And thanks a million for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.